Thanks for joining us. This is our third podcast, and we're delighted to have with us Marlene Tsagarakis Harden. Harden. See? That's a tough name, but I tried. But it's just like my name, so it's a lot of people miss that. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what currently you are doing now. How long you've been a pro. What's your title? What's your category you do, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how you started into fitness.
Okay, so I am a IFBB figure pro.
Mm-hmm.
I got my pro card in 2020 in Orlando at the Masters Nationals. Then right after that, I did the Daytona, and which followed the World Pro in Pittsburgh, and then finally I did the Tampa Pro just not even a month ago.
Okay.
So how I started, let's see, I've been competing since 1986. I was 27 years old, and one of the reasons that I think I started was because I really wasn't physical at that point, and a friend of mine asked me to go with her to the gym just to check it out. And I remember thinking, I don't want to go. There's going to be all these people there, and they're going to be looking at me because I'm so out of shape, and I felt like I was fat. And so she was, no one's going to care. They're not going to look at you. Just come. So I went with her the first time. I remember doing triceps for the first time in my life. And I remember the next morning, I couldn't even lift my arms to comb my hair because I was in so much pain. I thought, oh, this isn't for me. I cannot do this. But somehow the bug bit. And I thought, well, let me go try biceps. And then the next time I tried another exercise. And I think that's what started. And what I didn't realize at the time is that as my body became stronger, my self-esteem, my confidence became stronger as well. It wasn't so much to see how much bigger and more muscular I could become. It was to see how much more confidence I could gain and have more self-esteem and think more of myself.
Yeah.
And not be the doormat, that I allowed other people to treat me like. So I think for me, the sport gave me that more than anything else, which was kind of hard for my parents to understand at the time because they're Greek from another country, and they didn't understand. They just thought I was some kind of exhibitionist that liked to get on stage and show my body off, and it had nothing to do with that. To me, it was a sport. It was something that I could compete with other women like me. Yeah. And it was a goal that I felt like I needed to reach. I guess I'm a very goal oriented. You give me, a time period. You say you're going to do this by this point, yeah, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And so with each show that I did, I just felt like I could do better. And I think that's how it started. I did my first show, the Winter Fest, which doesn't even exist anymore. And I want to say at the time it was only bodybuilding. So the sport itself has morphed into a lot of different categories since then because it went from bodybuilding to fitness. And it didn't go into fitness until about 2000, 99, 98, around there, 2000. And they decided that, bodybuilding was maybe too big and too muscular for some women. So they decided to do fitness, something where you could be a little bit more smaller, more athletic, and you could still perform, but in a different manner. So they created fitness, which was awesome if you had dance and gymnastics in your background. There were a lot of beautiful women, nice physiques that did well in the sport. The problem was if they weren't talented, if they didn't have the ability to tumble and to do really cool dance moves and do all this other really cool stuff, they're not going to go anywhere. And they were left behind because the girls that were, had gymnastics, had dance, was in college, were cheerleaders, whatever, they excelled and they went forward. Everybody else kind of lagged behind because, we didn't have that ability. I was one of them. I learned at 42 years old at the time to do the toe touches and the jump splits. And I was able to do all of that except for a backflip. Like I said, I was in my 40s. And at that point, I was working for Hollywood Fire Rescue. And I'm thinking, I'm not breaking my neck.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to me to try to something that I should have started when I was 12.
Yeah.
So for me, I did everything but that. And what it caused was me not to move forward because even though they said, oh no, just show grace and elegance and this and that, whatever, and you'll do great. No, that was a lie. The truth is that you needed to tumble. You needed to do something really spectacular to be able to go forward and go to Olympia, let's say. So this created a problem. And the problem was that you had all these great women with great physiques, but they had nowhere to go.
Stuff, right.
So they decided at that point to create Figure. So Figure was a great outlet because it was exactly like fitness. The only difference was that you didn't have to perform. So you put on a one-piece suit and a two-piece suit with heels. You did your quarter turns, and that was it. It was nothing more than a beauty contest of sorts with, a little bit of muscle.
Right.
But as that went on, they found that you had girls that were on the smaller side, muscularity-wise, and then you had the girls that are on the bigger side. And so now you go to a show and you've got girls that are really big and buff and, huge. And then you've got the teeny tiny little girls who are just as fit.
Yes.
But there's a difference there, and it's hard to judge something like that. So then they thought, what do we do now? So from that point, that branched off to bikini and then over to physique. Yeah. So the girls on the bigger end, the more muscular girls, they went to physique. The girls that were smaller went to bikini, and everybody else got in the middle was Figure. And so there were still the bodybuilders, but those girls are one step above the physique competitors. Physique is, again, very similar to bodybuilding, but they're just a little bit smaller. So, like I said, for me, Figure was a good fit because I like the muscularity, but I didn't choose to get any bigger. I personally still want to look like a girl, and I still want to sound like a girl, and I just didn't. I appreciated all the work that went into these other women that decided to do physique and bodybuilding. The work that goes into creating this masterpiece is amazing, but I chose not to go that route. I kind of liked where I was. So that's where I remained. And like I said, I did this for years. And so finally, I accomplished my goal, which was to get my pro card in 2020. And then, like I said, I'm now here where, I'm pretty much at the end of my career because I've pretty much accomplished everything that I've wanted to do. And I've done this for a really long time. I think 40 years is good. I don't think, like I said, my mind says go and the body says, you got to stop because it gets harder. It does.
Now, what did it mean to you to get your pro card? What I mean, after all that time and effort, what did that give you?
It gave me a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It was something that I felt like it was that feather in my cap that I needed to say that I excelled in something. I was good enough to be given a pro card, to be the next level up. And at that point, I could have stopped and said, okay, got my pro card, I'm good. But I wanted to see how well I could do in that field. And pro is definitely a different animal than it is to be in the NPC. So for me, it was harder, but like I said, I'm always accepting a challenge. I never say no to anything. So I decided, let me try. So the Daytona didn't go as well because I coached myself. I didn't really have someone to kind of guide me, which I've always done by myself. But in the pro levels, it's different, and I really needed some help. So that's when I got the help, and I hired Clay Parker with Unmatched Nutrition.
Right.
And he, like I said, that man is brilliant. Yeah. I can't explain how he works or how his mind works because depending on who you are, he already knows before you even go any further what he has to do to get you where you need to go because everyone is different. The diet that he's going to give you is going to be different for me or for you or for anyone else. And I like that. It's not a cookie cutter diet. He's not some dumb jock that just sits back and goes, okay, here's a diet. See you at the show. It doesn't work that way. He is with you all the way up to the day of the show and is backstage with you. And honestly, those last 2 days are probably the most critical because you can blow it the very last day. I mean, right before you step on stage, you can blow it right there. Right. So, but he is, like I said, he knows and he's done this long enough. And he just, by working with you along the way, he understands after a while working with you how your body's going to react because he kind of experiments with you along the way. And for me, like I said, when I went to Pittsburgh and did the World Pro and won the over 60 category, I was thrilled. And especially when I saw the photographs after I got off stage, I was like, wow, that's me. That can't be me. I mean, that's got to be some other girl. But I was like very like pleasantly surprised. I mean, it all was
all
great.
worked right in. That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's important to have somebody to work with that is going to make sure that they do the adjustments they need to make you get in the right direction and stay in that direction. So a trainer, from your point of view, is really important.
Oh yeah.
You're trying to take. So somebody, let me ask you this way. So if somebody is just wanting to look into becoming in the sport competitive wise, you do recommend that they do get a trainer for that.
Absolutely, because the problem is that you cannot judge yourself. You can't look in the mirror and actually judge how you look. You actually need a third person, because you look at yourself every single day and you're not going to see the changes, and you're not going to see what needs to be done by looking at yourself. Even if for as many years as I've done this, I still needed someone, and I didn't realize I needed someone until I got to the pro level, because it's, like I said, it's a whole different playing field. So I wanted to be at the top of my game, and I just didn't want to guess at it, because basically that's what happens. That, I do good up to the day of the show, and then it's like, okay, do I eat more carbs? Do I not? What do I do? You just kind of feel lost, because you don't want to ruin it. You don't want to screw it up, because you just don't know. So you have someone who says, no, you're going to do this, 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 and this. And as long as you tell me what to do, I can follow directions really well. So I have no problem. And it kind of takes the stress off of you, because you're in good hands, and that person is going to be there for you, because when you look good, he looks good. It's good for everyone all around. So like I said, I was very confident, stepping on stage. Like I said, he's an amazing man. And his wife, Sarah, is also wonderful. She works with him. And they helped me with posing. And like I said, I also went to a posing coach, Sharonica Henton. She's an Olympic physique competitor, and she's amazing. So I had a lot of great people in my corner to help me get to where I needed to go. And I mean, that's really important, because support, especially at home, is very, very important, because if you don't have a boyfriend or husband or significant other that supports you through this, it's going to be tough. Because unfortunately with this sport, it's not like archery. When my husband did professional archery, it's one thing to go out and practice and, for hours, whatever, and then you can come inside and eat whatever you want. It's not dependent on your diet. It's dependent on your performance as an archer. But with a bodybuilder, you eat, sleep, drink, bodybuilding. Everything is encompassed around bodybuilding. You have to make sure that you're eating the right amount of food, the correct amount of food, because everything is measured. If it's not measured, then he can't adjust you as you're going along. If he gives you a diet and it's specific, and you don't do it exactly how he plans it out, and you don't look the way you're supposed to look at the end of this period, then he can adjust it, because he knows where you were. If you just do your own thing and go, well, today I'm a little bit hungry, I think I'll eat more carbs. No. It doesn't work that way. You have to follow the plan, because he doesn't stand there with you in your kitchen while you're eating or preparing your food. He has to trust that you're going to follow what he has planned for you, because if you don't, then you're not going to do well. But because I think that, it's such a over-encompassing type of sport, like I said, it's everything. If you think about it, everything revolves around food. You go to parties, you go to weddings, you go to any event, there's always food. And when you can't have that specific, whatever they have served on the table, it's really hard. And if you aren't focused and determined that you want to do well, you can blow it. Because like I said, it's all or nothing. You just can't do this half-assed. You have to decide, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do great. Because the day I step on that stage, if I don't win and I did everything I was supposed to do, then I can stand there confident knowing that there's nothing more than I could have done. But if I know I cheated and I did this and I didn't do my cardio and I didn't do, then I know that I deserve this. I deserve not to win, because I just wasn't true to myself. It's about you being honest with yourself. Yes, you can cheat, but who are you hurting? You're hurting yourself, especially if you have a goal, something that you want to excel in. And that's what keeps you striving forward, is that that you have this goal that you want to accomplish and you want to do well. At least that's me. I always wanted to excel in everything that I did, no matter what. So,
I mean, bodybuilding is in essence a selfish sport. It's basically, I mean, you're really the main factor. I mean, yes, a coach is there to guide you.
right.
So my next question is how do you determine getting a coach? What factors go into finding a coach that would be for you?
I think a lot of it is like referrals. I think how I found Clay was through Tina, Scott, other friends, Josh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of his last name. But anyway, there were other people that had used Clay, and I saw what they did for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they spoke very highly of him. And this was right at the Daytona, as a matter of fact. When I didn't do as well as I wanted to do, we had all gone out to eat afterwards. And, they were like, you really need to call Clay. And I'm like, at first in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I'm not calling anybody. I was kind of pushing back. I didn't say it verbally, but in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't need anybody. I could do this. So this is where your ego takes over. And you're like, I can do this by myself. And then I thought about it, and I thought, no, I can't do this by myself. I want to do better. I want to do better than how I did at this show. And so I called him by referrals and by the recommendation of these, friends of mine who have used him and spoke very highly of him. And like I said, he never met me before. And yet this guy knew exactly what he had to do to get me to where I needed to be to look like I did on stage. So like I said, he's brilliant. He's a very, very intelligent, very smart man who, like I said, is very committed to each and every person that he trains. And it's just not me. He must have probably over a couple hundred, clients. I mean, Marcy, she uses Clay as well. So there's a lot of people that use him and that think that he's great because, he produces the results that you want.
Yeah.
That's if you follow the directions and you do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I know he does produce a lot of pro athletes in his training. So, I mean, that's a success there, too, in that regard.
Right.
So that
and like I said, when you look good, he looks good. And it makes you both feel good about yourselves.
Plus, he's won awards, too, for being Trainer of the Year and so on, too, by his colleagues and peers. So, I mean, that's another part, too.
No, he's, like I said, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, I listen to him talking to other people, and it doesn't matter what it is that you're asking him about. He can dissect it down to the reason why. Whatever question it is, he knows whatever his answer is. That is just not a very light, here, this is what he goes in depth. Yeah. He knows what he's talking about by just the fact that he does a lot of reading. And I'm sure he's, because of all the training he's done with all these other people, he knows what the effects are of certain things. Yeah. And so he, like I said, is by experience. He's been doing this quite a while. So
good. Now I know when you competed in the world and you won that show. Okay. There was some talk about maybe going to the Olympia stage.
Yes.
What happened?
So I wanted, I think for my last show, what I really wanted to do was the Master Olympia. The Master Olympia had gone out of commission for, I think it's been 10 years or longer. And so they decided to bring it back. And I was very excited because I thought, well, if I'm going to do my last hurrah, it's going to be the Master Olympia. Until I found out, number one, that it's in Romania.
Yeah.
And by the way, that was last week.
Yes, it was.
Last week. Number two, their master's class was over 40. And I had to laugh. I thought, 40's masters.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, as a woman, 40, you're just getting started. You are in your prime. You are in the best shape of your life. You're not masters. Masters is when you're getting into your 50s, into your 60s. If you stay with a sport, that's a master class, not 40.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. Yeah. I mean, if I was to be completely honest with myself, I know there's no way I'm going to stand up there with a 40-year-old woman. Are you kidding me? As good as I can possibly look, a 40-year-old physique is different. Your skin is different. Your physique it's just different. I don't care what they tell you. Yeah. You just are different. And it's not fair to compare me, 65 years old, to a 40-year-old. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And I mean, if I can't be honest with myself and realize that, then I don't live on this planet, because there is a huge difference. And ask any woman, every 5 years, when you turn 50 to 55, a lot of women feel a change, 55 to 60. For me, I really don't think I felt any different up to about 57, 58. It was when I turned 60. 60 was like the light switch that went off and everything just was weird. I mean, my skin became it just wasn't the same. And it's hard. Getting older as a woman is very hard. As a man, it's easier because it's more accepted. You have more wrinkles and you're more distinguished. And I mean, guys will always look great no matter how old they are. Women, on the other hand, if you don't continuously try to take care of yourself, you're just old and, done. So I strive to, to try to take care of myself, both physically and otherwise. And,
well, I know a lot of women come up to you just in your normal day, go grocery shopping, and they come up to you, and what do they usually ask you, or what do they usually say to you?
It's funny because they'll say something like, I got to get back in the gym, and then I say to myself, no, you don't need to get back in the gym. What you need to do is change your diet. And at first I would never say anything, but then I thought they need to know. So, because they want to know, what do you do in the gym? Well, I mean, to get those arms, what do you do to, and I've like, listen, first and foremost, as a female, you have to work on your diet, your cardio, and the amount of water you drink. Those three things are more important than going to the gym and lifting weights. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have a woman that's, let's say, 20 pounds over what she should weigh, and she goes to the gym and starts working out, women are very weight oriented. They get on that scale and they see a number and they're like, their whole day is shot if it's not that special number. Okay. So you go to the gym, you start working out, your muscles start to become more dense. They get on the scale and now they're 5 pounds heavier and they are devastated because they're not losing weight. They're getting heavier, not understanding that it's not about the working out with the weights. The resistance training is important, yes, but more important as a female, you have to worry about stripping the fat off to see the muscle. You're not going to just work out and go home and eat pizza and beer and expect that you're going to look like Miss Olympia. It's not going to happen. This is, especially for women, number one, first and foremost, is your diet. What you put in is what you get out of it. It's like putting regular gas in a high performance vehicle. How's that car going to run? It's going to run like crap because you're not getting it the right fuel. Your body's the same exact way. It needs gas, water, and oil. If you don't give it those three ingredients, you're not going to perform the way you're supposed to perform because you need that to be efficient in your everyday life and the way that your body functions. And so, I have to say, listen, you got to get into don't worry about the gym. The gym is going to be there. Don't worry about that. Get up in the morning, go for a 30-minute walk, come back and have your breakfast. That is what I want you to do. I want you to speed up your metabolism, get it going so that when you eat your first meal, you've got this fire going. So then also in the course of the day, eat 6 smaller meals. Nothing specific. I mean, not like a diet that I would do, but I'm just saying eat the same thing you're eating, but just eat smaller amounts of it all through the day. It keeps your blood sugar more stable. You're not going to be starving. So because what happens, as we all know, we wait too long to eat. Our blood sugar drops. Now we're starving and we eat way more than we're supposed to because we're so hungry that our brain isn't catching up to our stomach. So with that, you just have to eat the 6 smaller meals, no carbs at night if you can. I mean, and no sugar, no fruit. And then drink the water. The water in itself is the great fat emulsifier. That's what helps burn body fat, aside from the cardio. You need to get rid of all the toxins and all the crap that you have in your body. People will drink soda, people will drink juice, people will drink beer, alcohol, whatever. And not to say you shouldn't have any of that, but if you really want to change your physique, initially, cut out the alcohol and cut out all the soda pop and stuff that you don't really need to drink. Stick with water. Do the water thing and work up to a gallon. People are like, oh my God, I drink a lot of water. And I'm like, well, how much water do you drink? And they go, well, I drink about 4 or 5 of those little bottles. I'm like, no, that's not quite enough. Drink a gallon, measure a container, a gallon. And your goal by the end of the day is to have that gallon gone. You'll be surprised how much water you don't drink. So with that, and the cardio and the diet, you will see a change. When you start getting leaner and feeling better, because you're going to start getting, like I said, your stomach will get flatter. You're going to get more tone overall. Then you can go to the gym, and then you can start lifting weights and start to form and make those muscles stronger and larger. But initially, don't worry about the gym.
Right.
Worry about, because, and when I say that, women look at me like, really? And I'm thinking, yeah, really. I mean, it's not so important.
Yeah.
Yes, gym is, but it's not the first thing that you should worry about.
So I know diet is very important and nutrition is very important. Supplements too play a role, because we do have women especially come in here, and the majority of them want to lose weight, which you've talked about and what's important. But for you, you also need that edge besides nutrition to help you. What would be say supplements you would recommend for somebody? What are your top 3 supplements that you usually do, and why?
So I really like Total War, which is basically a powder that I put into a small glass of water and I drink it. It gives me more of a drive and focus. It gives me the energy to get through the workout without petering out in the middle of it. But it doesn't give me the jitters. It doesn't make me feel crazy like I'm going to climb the walls any second. I hate that feeling. So Total War gives me just enough where I feel good throughout the whole exercise.
So that's your pre-workout.
Yes, that would be my pre-workout. And then I really like NutriBio, which is a protein powder. I don't particularly drink it as a shake. Interestingly, Clay used to I put it into my cream of rice.
Yeah.
So it's like 45 grams of cream of rice and half a scoop of protein powder, in addition to, the other, trying to think what else I have for breakfast. It was 100 grams of fruit, strawberries, blueberries, and stuff like that. So, but the NutriBio is a more efficient protein. Clay really liked that particular brand, and I use it, and I think it's great. It tastes great. Definitely makes the cream of rice taste like something, because cream of rice, if you've ever eaten it, tastes like nothing.
Yeah.
Unless you put a little stevia, a little bit of something to give it flavor. And then the third one would have to be my all-time favorite. It's the GDA, which is nothing more than a carb blocker. Yeah. And I honestly use that not so much when I'm doing the diet, but actually afterwards, like right now, what I consider myself off season, where I'm going to be eating a little bit more normal than what I should. Let me start over. I will be eating more normally than eating my diet.
There's more carbs in your diet.
Right. So especially if there's a special occasion, or if I know I'm going to eat something that I really shouldn't be eating.
Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes. You know you're going to be bad. Yeah. So the GDA is great, because at least I know that some of those carbs will be absorbed and excreted. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, I could be bad and I could get away with it, sort of, kind of.
Yeah. So GDA is also called a glucose disposal agent. So basically, what it does is it's going to shuttle the carbs away from being produced into fat.
Correct.
Okay. And so that's what I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. Okay.
Right. And so I would have to say those are my top 3 for sure.
Okay, good.
And I get them all from your store, which is the best, by the way.
Yes.
And
good.
Like I said, it's great coming here because, Steve knows a lot about nutrition. I don't care what you ask him about, what product he knows. And so that makes me feel good that, he knows what he's talking about. And like I said, he can guide whatever person that comes in here down the right path.
Yeah.
Which is important, because a lot of people have no clue. Yeah. And if you can break it down and make it more, more English, where because you can look at the side of a container and you're like, well, what is that? It's some long word that I've never heard of before. You can break it down to English and say, okay, this is what it basically does. Yeah. So you feel confident that if I'm going to take this product, it's going to do this, because now I understand what it does. And that is awesome that you do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. I wanted to change a little bit. So you talked a little bit about, obviously your career has been, through the decades, changed and morphed into, where you are now.
Right.
And you've seen the sport also change and morph too. You kind of touched on a couple things. What is it about the sport right now that you like? What is the NPC doing right now that you like? And then I'm going to also ask you, what would you like to see different in the NPC right now that they're not doing?
So the NPC is the National Physique Committee, which is basically for amateurs. You are in the NPC, and there are other organizations, but the NPC is the largest and the more well-known. when you get your pro card, now you go into the IFBB, which is the International Federation of Bodybuilding. And so the sport in itself is great because it teaches you discipline and gives you a goal. But at the same time, the sport is also very unfair, to put it in so many words.
Clarify that?
It's
what you mean?
Because if you're doing a race, if you're running a race, and here's the finish line, and you cross over first, you win because you crossed this line. It's very definitive. But if you're standing on stage with 5 women that are very similar, or let's just say one woman that is spectacular and the other 4 somewhat okay, it's very disheartening when the judge, and only the head judge, will pick someone. As a spectator, you're like, how did that happen? It's a subjective sport. Depending on what judge you have on that day will determine the outcome of that show. On a different day with a different set of judges, or head judge, I should say, it'd be completely different. It's all dependent on his likes and dislikes, whatever he likes. It's not so much the physique or what he sees on stage. It's what he particularly wants to see, whether he wants you softer and not so defined, or whether he wants you harder and really defined. It's kind of like, I don't know, dog shows and beauty contests. I mean, that's the only way I can assimilate them, because it's all a subjective sport. How do you judge a boxer bulldog to a poodle or, schnauzer? You can't. They're all beautiful animals. We're all beautiful women, but it's on what that head judge wants. It's nothing definitive. It's subjective at best. Yeah, there are some standards they want to see. They want to see you, have more of a set. You would think that to have aesthetics, to have nice broad shoulders, smaller waist, your quads flare out, nice glutes, those should all come into play, and they do. But ultimately, it's not so much that way, to put it in so many words.
And that's kind of where a coach comes in for somebody, because they really hopefully have a really good idea based on previous performances and so on and so forth. Some of them actually even know that the judges that are going to be at the shows too, so they can tell
if they do know. And it's funny because each judge they've gotten to know what they like. So the coach, if he's really good, he's been in the game long enough, he knows that so-and-so is going to judge that day. So I know he likes him this way.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus on that, because that's what he wants to see. On a different day, they don't want to see that. They want to see you softer or curvy, more whatever,
Yeah.
You're blonde, you're not brunette, so I like you more. Who knows? I mean, it depends on the day. And like I said, on any certain day, a different judge, it's all different. So you just go and you come in the best you can, and know that you tried and did everything you could to be your very best. And if you didn't win that day, well, then you just didn't win.
Yeah.
Whether it's fair or not, unfortunately, that's something that you have to accept. And if you can't accept it, then you just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's a hard part. I know we have in our store we have athletes, and some of them really performed, they felt at their very best, and they didn't see that end result prize that they were looking for, and it was a very devastating thing for them too, to get knocked down and then try to get back up.
Yeah, it is hard, because it's like, how do I describe it? It's like that you look better than what your placing was. It's like that one person is going to determine your fate. It's like you're either going to be first place or you're going to be last place. Anything after first is last place, as far as I'm concerned. So if you're not that first place, it makes you feel bad. It makes you feel like you're not worthy, you're not good enough, because you didn't get first.
Yeah.
And it's really not true, because again, it's such a subjective sport that just the fact that you got on stage and you actually did the show, you're a winner. And people don't understand that. It was hard for me to understand that, because what happens is your ego gets crushed, and you've got to put your ego away and say, listen, it's okay. Because I can tell you there's many women who have said to me in the past, oh, I want to do a show and I want to do this. And do they ever? No, it never happens. So for the women that actually follow through and get on that stage, my hat's off to you, because that's more than most women will do. Because you know what? It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard and it's expensive. It's
Yeah.
very expensive, to say the least.
Yeah, because you got, I mean, obviously you have your coach, you have your
Suits,
your suit,
your shoes,
your entry fee, tanning, all those things you gotta put together. Travel to wherever you have to
you're
go.
going to spend a few $1,000s easy.
Yeah.
And that's easy. If you do travel, it's going to be more, obviously, because you have hotel, Uber, plane fare and all that. If you do it locally, it's less, but still, just the just the food. To go to the grocery store and buy food that you need specifically to do this show is expensive. I mean, I was eating bison. A little package of bison, which is about this big, is like $10. And I may get 2 meals out of that.
Yeah.
So my grocery bill did go up because I was buying food that in quantities that I needed to be able to do that week's diet.
Yeah.
Now, the next week after that, he may change it. I may not be eating bison. I may be eating tilapia or, ground turkey, whatever it is. But yeah, when you're eating better food, your grocery bill definitely goes up, and it was expensive. Yeah. So,
and plus supplements on top of that too. Yeah.
Right.
You have that too.
Yeah.
It's not a sport that doesn't come with monetary price tag. Exactly.
I mean, who would think that you would spend $1,200 on a suit?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and this is going way back, I think it was 2000. I did, was it Southern States? I think it was 2001, Southern States. I had to buy a 1-piece, a 2-piece, and it was my fitness outfit because it was still fitness at the time.
Yeah.
Those 3 outfits all together cost me $650.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, that's just so much money. I can't afford it. It was a lot. $650 back then, was a lot of money to me. Now, you can't buy a decent suit unless you're spending at least $800-900. The bottom basement. All right.
Yeah.
To have one of these spectacular all
glitz glamour. Yeah.
You're spending $1,200-1,500.
Yeah.
And that's easy. And girls will buy one suit for each show. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, it's not a wedding dress. I'm going to wear it again. I'm going to wear this as long as I have to because I don't know. It's just too expensive. And I guess I'm just too practical. I'm thinking they're not going to remember my suit from the last time. I mean, it's a different judge.
Right.
They're not going to care. So, but yeah, it's a very crazy. And then back in those days, you didn't have rhinestones and jewels and all that. It was plain.
Yeah.
Your shoes were either black, they were white, they were anything you wanted. And all of a sudden they became the clear, what we call stripper shoes, because of course they make your legs longer and leaner because they're clear.
Yeah, they're clear.
And of course they do make your legs look better. But back then, if I went back in time and looked at all my old pictures from all the shows I've done before, the suits, the shoes, everything that we did was so different from now. I mean, it was definitely cheaper to compete back then. Now it's absurd. But
now, you also said that being in the sport as long as you had been, you learned some things, and that knowledge and wisdom is important. And so, if you could say a young woman or is looking to get into the sport, what would you advise that person to do?
I would tell them that first and foremost, more than anything, is you have to be very mindful of your form. It's not about the weight, it's about the execution of the weight. You could have 10 pounds in your hand, and if you do it in the correct fashion, you will get a better workout than you picking up 25 pounds and having the worst form on the planet. Because you do that, now you're setting yourself up for injury. When you're younger, let's say you do hurt yourself. No big deal. Couple of days, you're back to normal. Yeah. But what happens, that injury will haunt you when you're much older. Yeah. And I'm here to say, now that I'm at that point in my life, that it's happened. Mm-hmm. The stupid things that I did, the dumb, extra, more weight than I should have been handling, all of that has come to fruition, and I've incurred injuries because of that. Like I said, at the time it was like no big deal, I felt good. But you do this as long as I have, and it starts to culminate, and it starts things start to break.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm going through something like that now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's called age.
Yeah.
You know, I'm aging, and something that I can't get away from. Nobody can, but it's tough.
Well, weightlifting, to a certain extent, yes, puts stress on the musculoskeletal system.
Right.
But there are some things, and that's what we really try to do, as you mentioned, is to try to guide those people if they're starting to compete and things like that. That, you know, it is important to do things to help your joints and your muscles and tendons and ligaments, because those really are going to be the key thing for your mobility. Okay, not so much now, but in that decade down the road too. Okay,
Yeah.
you know, and this is a sport that does, as we've talked about, is going to evolve. And you're an advocate of having a master's over 60 class in figure, and that's something that you're an advocate for, which doesn't happen right now. So we'd like to see, as people are in the sport for a longer period of time, there is going to have to be some pressure on them to bump up age limits in that regard, and that's going to put more pressure, because it does take a toll. So we want to make sure that you do things that allow yourself to get to be right, to do that.
Yeah,
okay, so
no, it's true.
You know,
yeah, because like I said, you know, there are more. Back in the day, if you were 50 years old, you were considered ancient.
Yeah.
You know, and now 50, you're still doing pretty good. I mean, consider if your weight is the right weight and you're training and exercising and taking care of yourself, 50 isn't old.
Yes.
To me, old now is 85, 90.
Yeah.
That's way down the road. Yeah. But when I was 25, 60, you're 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, the sport has changed to the point where there are more women that are in their late 50s going into their 60s that are doing the sport and look fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I have met these women and they are amazing. But what's unfortunate is that in the NPC, they offer all of these over 60 categories. Great. So these women compete, they win, they get their pro card. Then they become a pro, and now they go into the pro level looking at shows that are in the over 60 category. And guess what? There aren't any. Only one. The only one that I know of that I did was back in 2022 was when I went to World Pittsburgh, that they had an over 60 category, and that's the year that I won. So, but that show is the only one. I mean, Legion's Pro did have an over 60 category, but as of this year, they decided they nixed that. And now they have over 40.
Yeah.
Over 40 as masters?
Right.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's being an advocate for that sport to create those avenues for people, opportunity wise, as the sport matures, and people mature, that we're going to see and get hopefully evolving into that also. So that's obviously a very important thing that you're trying to promote too.
Yeah, but like I said, until the promoters themselves decide to offer that class, because they don't, and I'm not quite exactly sure how it works. I mean, how much money it costs them to put an extra category, I don't know. I really don't know how it works. But there's more of a need for over 60 category in every aspect, from bikini to wellness to, which is another category I forgot to mention, wellness, is that's one of the newest ones. It's bikini, but if you have a bigger
butt side,
if your butt is big, this is the one for you. But in every category, they should have an over 60, but they don't.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. At the Daytona, they have it over 60 in bikini and in physique, but they do not offer one in figure. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Yeah.
I don't get it. I can tell you that 2 years ago in 2021, when I did the Daytona, there were 4 women in the lineup on the Daytona stage that were over 60 years old. So you cannot tell me that there isn't a need for women that are over 60 to compete with other women that are 60 years old. Let's make it fair. Yeah. Don't expect me at 65 to compete with an over 55, a woman that just turned 55. Are you kidding me? Mm. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But, for some reason, some people in this sport just don't get it. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's just because they're a man or because, enough of the women judges haven't, been more proactive and said, listen, guys, women are not like men. If you have a man that's 55 and a woman that's 55, I can tell you that the man is going to run circles around the woman that's 55. You just are younger longer.
Yeah.
I've seen men at Southern States back in the day that were 60, that they were 75 years old, and these men were amazing. You look at them and go, wow. But a woman at 75? Well, I like to find that woman. So far, she doesn't exist.
No.
I've never, well, no, I shouldn't say that. There is a woman that's 80. She's a Black woman I see on the internet. I don't remember what her name is, but she's 80 and she looks amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman looks fantastic. She looks like maybe she's in her 60s.
Wow.
But she's more of in the bikini, more physique, but she is absolutely gorgeous and this great body. And I'm thinking, and you're 80?
Yeah.
Good for you. I want to be you when I grow up.
Well, I know, and certainly you are a testament to also keeping yourself fit and aligned with the sport, and as you grow and mature more into it too. I mean, I don't think your career as being a fit proponent and advocate is not going to end. I think that, as you said, competition-wise, you may be at that point where, it may not be advantageous if the sport is not up to where you need it to be, right? Okay.
Right. I mean, if they don't offer, categories where, I'm going to compete with women that are over 60, then there's no point because then it becomes really unfair. I mean, it's tough to begin with, and then you throw in, well, we're just going to, put a woman that's 10 years younger than you. Well, no, it doesn't work that way, because even from 30 to 40, there are changes, and 40 to 50, there just is. Yeah. There's proven fact that there's changes, but until the sport decides to kind of come up with the times, then it's going to remain the way it is, and women in their 60s are going to be very disappointed, because unless you are a freak of nature, and you just happen to be that 65-year-old that's just like, wow, then maybe you could beat a 45, 50-year-old. But I don't see, I've not met a woman yet.
It's the rare exception.
Yeah.
Yes, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I work really hard, and I feel like I've done really well considering, my age and everything that I've gone through. But at the same time, it becomes very disheartening and very discouraging, frustrating at best, where, there's not, when you don't have the control of changing your age. Mm-hmm. There's other things you can change that you have the ability to do, but that's one thing you cannot do. You can't make your skin tighter. Yeah. You can't make, where you put body fat on. I mean, it used to be that all my body fat would go to my hips and my thighs. Mm-hmm. I had the saddlebags from hell. Mm-hmm. And my waist was tiny. I always had a flat stomach, always had abs. Now the complete opposite changes. I don't get it here anymore. It's all in my midsection. Yeah. And that is change. It's hormonal changes. Yeah. Menopause is probably the worst trick on a woman ever.
Yeah. For keeping your physique.
Just making you it just changes everything. Menopause is if you can survive menopause, you've accomplished a lot without killing anybody else in the outcome. But it's different. I mean, men don't have to go through that, thank goodness for them, but it's definitely something that's tough on women, and it changes you. So,
well, I know that when people come in and they look over at the pictures we have on the wall there, and they look at your picture and I say, guess how old that woman is, and they never get the guess. So, and they're very surprised when they see that you are that age. And so, I mean, that in itself is a testament to your hard work, and it's a very nice compliment too. And I know that we have plenty of people that know you and support you in your journey, through fitness, and that's what we want to make sure we do. We certainly want to thank you for being here, and
thank you.
We appreciate all the wisdom and guidance you've given for people out there. Hey guys, if you like this video, like, comment, and share, and we look forward to seeing you in our next one.